Being trans is saying your birthday and knowing damn well that the day you came out is your real birthday. Being trans is having to come out to each and every new place you're hired. Being trans is having to take a deep breath before you enter the ladies' room. Being trans is only being able to go to certain branches of a certain store or restaurant because they know you and they let you use a certain bathroom. Being trans is having to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get care because local doctors don't know shit about your hormones or your situation, or even your levels. Being trans is having 50 men sending messages that you're cute, one saying that you're a freak, and then them deleting their account before you even get to see it. Being trans is remembering phases in your pre-life and realizing that you were just trying to get through, which failed. Being trans is realizing that you would actually make more money selling your body than to someone born with natal parts. Being trans is someone asking you how long you've been growing your hair out and then realizing that to them, you don't pass. Being trans is seeing a little girl or a little boy jumping around, having fun, and just smiling because you never had that. You didn't have the chance to be that little girl or little boy. Being trans is calling parts of your body other things than what a bystander would call them. Being trans is being that go-to person when trans issues come up. You're the expert now. Being trans is realizing that you're the weird trans cousin, which was originally the weird gay cousin. Being trans is fixing your posture and preparing for gender-specific environments daily, if not hourly. Being trans is having a majority of your life playing dress-up with hands that belong to an entirely different person. And then one day tossing everything and owning who you were meant to be. Being trans is having to see a doctor until the day you die, because that's what you signed up for. Being trans is accidentally pushing the beard filter on Snapchat and covering your face because you saw your past. Being trans is having moments within 5 years of each other where you twin your dad and then your mom. Being trans is having to explain to everyone and their mother that gender and sex are different. Being trans is society forcing you to judge the gender binary while you were against the gender binary. Being trans is a man condemning you while he watches our porn. Being trans is finding one church in your state that accepts you, but only after your process to atheism is forged in stone. Being trans is having 2 holidays. 1, remembering our dead, and 2, showing that we exist. Being trans is getting your name legally changed and the receptionist thinking it's for your wife. Being trans is someone saying, so she's really a he, but then explaining to them that she's really a she. Being trans is wearing a pronoun pin on your vest at work, right above your name badge, and a customer looking right at it and calling you he. Being trans is getting stared at in the men's room and clocked in the ladies. Being trans is wishing you could swap body parts of a trans man or a trans man swapping body parts of a trans woman. Being trans is watching old movies and TV shows that have transphobic moments and having a really hard time getting through it. Being trans is having to explain to people why certain terms that are used in porn aren't appropriate to use when referring to someone who is trans. Porn, real life, different things. Being trans is not passing and having to have your partner tell you what you look more like, a man or a woman, so you know which bathroom to use that day. Being trans is having to carry a few extra tampons in your purse. For 1, helping a sister out, and 2, hoping that someone doesn't find your purse and put 2 and 2 together. Being trans is having to save up money for surgeries, not cars or houses or vacations. Being trans is growing up, fantasizing about women, dating them, and then realizing you just wanted to be them. Being trans is having to call around different businesses, different clothing businesses, and ask if they have your size. They have a little bit of variety. Being trans is wanting to adopt any child that is trans who is getting mistreated. Being trans is seeing companies during Pride Month that are showing inclusiveness, yet being unsafe in their store for every month of the year. Being trans is coming out twice. Once with your sexual orientation, then your gender identity, and then questioning your sexual orientation again. Being trans is always hating your voice for some reason, and then coming out and realizing why. Being trans is having the urge to want to wear a pronoun pin, but realizing that by doing that, you're now a target. Being trans is wondering if you're included when it comes time for International Women's Day or International Men's Day. Being trans is being this close to getting a rose on Mother's Day, but not getting it because you opened your damn mouth. Being trans is fearing going to jail and you know they're gonna put you in a men's prison. Being trans is still a heck of a lot better than the sex I was assigned at birth. Being trans is, in the morning, reaching down and grabbing your breasts to remind yourself that you're a girl. Being trans is considering baby pictures that you took right before you came out or you started transitioning. Being trans is just growing up, feeling really weird and uncomfortable. Your classmates know what you are, but you have no idea and you're just drowning in emotions. Being trans is picking out the right outfit, the right colors, the right fit, in order to make sure that you look the most passable. Being trans is being called the correct name, but with the incorrect pronouns or suffix. Being trans is getting remarried, not because you found someone else, but because you're marrying as your true gender. Being trans is having people misspell your name, but not being able to get mad because at least they tried. Being trans is having to hold your bladder in a redneck small town. Being trans is smiling when you see a teenager in colored hair. Being trans is being glad you're out of high school, but so glad that things are better now. Being trans is having to master the etiquette of your age without having a tutorial. Being trans is accepting that your family now, besides a select few, is gonna be chosen. Being trans is being able to lose your virginity twice, but only if you can afford it. Being trans is minding your pitch always, considering the group of people, which way you're facing, and negotiating with someone who doesn't get the message. Being trans is having little kids ask their parents at a forcible volume what I am, but it's cute. Being trans is having to carefully choose where you vacation and travel to because you may be either illegal or killed where you're going. Being trans is being considered a trans elder at the age of 45. Being trans is getting asked a lot of questions and getting flack for not wanting to answer them. Being trans is being too tall or too short for your outfit and then realizing that HRT probably isn't going to do much for you. Being trans is having to refer to yourself with the label pre or post, whether it be with hormones or surgery, for the rest of your life. Being trans is fearing what your loved ones would put in your obituary, whether name, pronouns, if you were to suddenly pass. Being trans is having to introduce yourself with your old name in order to dodge an old classmate or friend's memory. Being trans is having to say your dead name in order to pick up your hormones. Being trans is loving the way you look in the mirror, and then the towel drops. Being trans is being considered a mental diagnosis 50 years ago, and when you drive 500 miles south. Being trans is happening to keep your pronouns in your bio, just to have some creep correct them in a comment thread where you clock yourself. Being trans is in fear of when you get pulled over that the cops don't ask you for your real license. Being trans is having phone anxiety, which is different from your other anxiety. Being trans is finding pants that fit your height, your hips, your thighs, and your crotch. Being trans is wishing you knew 10 years earlier, 20 years earlier. And finally, being trans is being okay only living to 50 as your true gender, as opposed to living to 100 years old as your birth gender. And those are the good, the bad, the ugly about being trans. From my own cataloged experiences and others, I hope you can relate to some of them or maybe add to my list. Until next time, my name is Jamie. Keep it casual.